It's an absolutely beautiful day here in Thompson today. Sun's shining, skies are clear. You can see for about 30 miles from my apartment. And quite a contrast from yesterday. There was about maybe an eighth of a mile visibility in smoke, if that, until this cold front went through and cleared everything out. High wind, and temperatures dropped rapidly, and all of a sudden, next thing you know, it was clear. So anyway, I'm just going for a little walk in the bush here. But there's a website if you're from around this area. It's called firesmoke.ca. And if you go to that website, you can just use your two fingers on your phone to make it zoom in on whatever area you're in. It shows you where all the fires are, the outlines of the fires, where all the smoke is. And there's a video that plays, it keeps recycling, and it'll show you according to what time and what day where all the smoke will be. So it's quite handy. If you're flying VFR around these parts, it's quite handy to see, the darker the smoke, the less visibility you're going to have. So it's pretty good. And I just wanted to add some more to what I was talking about yesterday, the Donald Trump continuing saga. He seems to be doing everything possible to deflect away from the Epstein files. And there's a couple things to know about Epstein, and one of those is Epstein knew a lot of financial stuff about Trump, and I get this from the biographer that wrote the book about Trump, and he was writing one about Epstein, so he spent many hours interviewing Epstein. And so apparently there was this house that Epstein wanted to buy in West Palm Beach there, and it was he was the high bidder, 36 million. So this was when him and Donald Trump were palling around almost every day chasing women and stuff. And so he invited Trump over to look at this place because he wanted advice on how to move the swimming pool or do something with the swimming pool. So Trump, knowing that he was the high bidder, he went behind his back and he offered 40 million for the place, and he got it. So that pissed off Epstein. And at this point in time, Trump owed about $1 billion. So he didn't have the money to buy it. So Epstein was aware of that. And Epstein figured that he got the money from, there was some Russian oligarch. And that oligarch needed to clean money, launder money. So anyway, Trump was able to buy it. The money came from thin air. And then he resold it to this Russian guy for 95 million. So the Russian guy was able to clean 95 million into the American real estate market. And later, of course, the values went up in West Palm Beach, and so he didn't lose any money. And Trump made that. So Epstein was, pretty pissed off at Trump. And don't forget, he had all these tapes. Every time Trump came over to his place and had sex with a minor, it was all on tape. So, it would be to Trump's advantage to get rid of Epstein. And there was that one rape that should have been videotaped of the 13-year-old girl, blowjobs, handjobs, the 13-year-old. And the second thing was there was some guy who was connected to Epstein somehow, and he was able to arrange about 12 banks to come together to bail out Trump for that $1 billion. So when he gets that $1 billion, that should be shown on his books as income, but it wasn't. And it was all part of this money laundering scheme. So Epstein knew all these intricacies of what was going on Trump, and he could have derailed him with the FBI, Justice Department, and finished his career. So that's worth knowing. Now, the mainstream news, because they received billions from the State Department, they're not going to come on the air and tell you this story, because you'll hear it from the writers, the YouTube interviewers that interview the writers, that the biographers, the people on the inside. They just come forward and some YouTube little interview. That's where you're going to get the information on this stuff. So right now, people like Pam Bondi and Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, they've all sold their souls to the devil by accepting these $250,000 jobs for Trump. And now they can't release all these files because they're indebted to him. They'll be, forever tarnished for having supported him if the truth comes out. And if the truth doesn't come out, they seem to be able to bluff so many Americans just by saying, we're protecting the innocent, when actually who they're protecting is Trump. And so, as a Canadian, why do I even care about, what happens in the United States? Because I never did before. But, the U.S. is the war machine that propagates wars in almost every country in the world. The U.S. is involved in it. Starting 1955, they were training Tibetans in, I think it was either Utah or Colorado, high altitude anyway, on insurgency in China, and then they'd parachute them back into Tibet, and they were the resistance to try and divide China from within. And everywhere in the Middle East is because USA and Britain has set up Israel to be their forward operating base, create instability in every country in the Middle East. So by doing that, they can't build their own infrastructure. They can't build their own technology because it all gets destroyed. They need to buy weapons from the West. And in order to do all that, they need to borrow money from the Western banks. That's the big important point. So it keeps the the Bank of England mainly and the other Western banks, it keeps them at the top of the food chain. And so anyway, it's a beautiful day here in Thompson. I might swing by the gym, but later on today I'm gonna take a drive south of town. There's a little waterfalls I can go to. There's some trails in the bush around there, and see how that looks.